Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the organizers for giving me an opportunity to speak in the Open Sciences Conference. This is my first time here. I know we all are tired and have been here for 2 days, and we all want to go and have a lunch. And I was thinking, being a last talk, as they say, you save the best for the last. Unfortunately, Dr. Omni leapfrogged, and I don't know whether I can even say that I'm the best one and the last. I mean, she took my punchline away. Anyway, let me try, and then we heard from a lot of people, scientists, everybody else, and I'm more of the other side of the equation, because you all developed a lot of techniques and technologies, but we want to use it, and here I'm here as asking for your request or asking for help. I'm going to say a little bit, this is my outline of my talk. I'm going to say what shared resources facilities are, give you some examples, why do we need them, and what is the role of the open science and shared facilities, and the challenges we are facing, and how we are adapting, right? I mean, we heard a lot about open science, but from the technology and the scientist and data scientist part of it, but we will be the ones, we would like to use it, and we want your help. Basically, it's the other way around, right? The other side of the equation. Shared facilities are home to, David is here. I mean, basically, dedicated equipment with high-end scientific equipments available with the skilled personnel to solve the scientific problems, right? And then usually there are 1 or 2 per institution, because they are very expensive to establish and have to hire professional people to maintain. They are hard to find. And however, there are many shared resources facilities per institutions. One way to think of it, this will be like a centralized resource for both equipment and expertise, and usually you find several of them in the RO an institution like FSU. And I'm going to give you some example. There are 2 types of centralized resources. One is called centralized, and the other one is decentralized. I'm giving you some example here. A centralized resource facility is the difference is mostly the way in which they are managed rather than the services they provide. For example, I gave a MagLab an example. You go to MagLab, there are several shared resources facilities available, housed in one place, and there is a kind of top-down management of them, right? And there are other universities I've given, and equipment are there, and the expertise is there too. The second type is, this is the example of it. For example, Arizona State University has it. Let's say you are a scientist working in biological sciences. You would go there and then select the biological sciences resources facility, and you're presented with all these things which they provide for. Let us say you're trying to study genomics, and then you would click on the genomics facility, and then that gives you more detailed information about what they do, what kind of equipment they have, and what kind of resources they have, especially in the human resources, and then what kind of things they have. That is what typically you see. And then in the distributed shared facilities, which FSU is one of it, has department type facilities, right? FSU chemistry department is one example. Harvard's molecular, I just gave some examples. It doesn't mean they are the only ones. And where the facilities are managed by the departments, and they are the staff in there, and they report to their chair or the department head, right? And I work in one such facility like that. For example, here I'm giving some examples of distributed facilities you can find in FSU. Biological Sciences has one, and you can see all the services they provide are very targeted toward what a biological scientist would need, rather than a material science or something like that. This is another one. With this is where the facility I work, and where all the instruments and equipment are shown here, right? And the other one is you'll find what instruments are there, how much they cost, and how do you operate. All the information is provided here. And the other important part of it is that is not only we give you experiments, equipment, we also have people who can help you. This is the part of the shared resource where we help a scientist like a PI or a graduate student or a postdoctoral person or even a staff member who comes to want to use the facility. We are housed there. We are basically permanent staff. That is the only job. Like you librarians take care of a science librarian, takes care of science part of it, and the art librarian helps the people. Like that, we are the experts in that area, and we are available 24, we are basically available for people to help, and we get either involved in solving the problems or just give them the advice how to go about their scientific work. And then, why do we need these shared resources facility? As I said, RO, an institution like FSU does very advanced level of research, and it involves sophisticated equipment in terms of the scientific equipment and data analysis and the computers and everything. And they are very expensive, therefore not every lab can have one. Therefore, for efficiency of providing the services in a reasonable cost, RO, an institution like FSU have this kind of facility located in some places so that everybody can go and work. The added benefit to that is that it becomes a nexus for collaboration and networking. People come to us because there's probably only one ion cyclotron resonance magnet, the whole of the world, but not only that, in the FSU. If anybody is interested in working in that area, they have to go to David's lab. Therefore, a lot of people come, and then they become place for collaboration, talking to each other, networking. Therefore, we are kind of one-way magnet for collaboration. It's part of the fun. That's why institutions need one. And for example, what I'm showing you is here, what is called a cryo-electron transmission microscope. It is housed in biology department. When it was established in 2010, it costed $5 million. And at that time, that was the only transmission electron microscope in the whole of Southeast. And if I remember correctly, this was the 4th electron microscope of this type made by this company at that time we installed. When we received that, it was a big positive added advantage for FSU. It attracted actually 4 faculty members to biological department so that they could start the work. Right? And it is put on a special place, and it has got all kinds of things, right? And not only that, they have related equipment surrounding this shared facility, right? If you're doing a transmission electron microscope, you also might be working at it's like you're sending a light through and capture it, or reflect, capture it. That kind of related equipments are all surrounding this facility. It's just not one microscope, but something. That is the advantage of having a shared resource facility like this. Okay, and then you have experts, like as I said, the experts are there all the time. They are able to help you out, and any questions you have, they may collaborate with you, or they may just help you solve the problem. They may not be really scientific collaborators, just maybe advisors to you. This is from the MagLab's website. Okay, what is our role in science? Because we heard a lot of scientists here, and there's people who are publishing. What is our role? We provide them with, as I said, the unique equipment and the expertise and advice to move your work forward. Many students come to us, and we are not the only part of their research work. They may be doing something, and they need to talk to somebody, and then they progress with their research work and come to me, and they do certain part of the work, and they come to other work. That way, many individual component labs help people advance the work. Obviously, not every PI and every student will be proficient with the work they need to finish, but they needed to get the work done to progress. That is where we come and help them, because that's the only job we do. And when they come to us, we typically end up training them on their area and help them collect the data, analyze the work, and interpret the results so that they can take it to the next step of their research, whatever it might be. That's where we come. And then, as I said, we are also a place for networking and collaboration. And then, because we are specializing on, generally people do not need to worry about, keep updated with their instruments, hardware, software, whatever it is, we take care of it. We talk to our peers in our own area to find out what is new, what needs to be done, we take care of. That part of the burden is removed from the PIs and the students. For example, FSU has one of the full body fMRI. Therefore, that fMRI, which is in the College of Medicine, is a nexus for not only people in College of Medicine, nutrition, psychology, mag lab, everybody uses. And not everybody who uses may be a proficient with the kind of information coming out of the instrument. That is where the scientists, like people like David, help them out. If you're coming from biological background and need some information in the medical background, he or somebody like us can fill that void. And the other places, for this is I'm going to photograph a workshop which we held. The people held at FSU. This is the electron microscope you saw. The electron microscope has become a center for electron microscope, cryo-electron microscope for macromolecular machines. And the students and PI from various parts of the country came to FSU, spent about a week learning how to collect data, how to process, and that becomes not only a workshop for learning and continued collaboration. Therefore, we are able to help the students. Okay, I spoke so much about this and where is the open science and where we come into the picture. I'm not here to promote my shared facility and in this festival, but there is a connection, okay? That the problem is we work with a lot of people, right? Lot of principal investigators, and we work with many departments, units, and colleges, sometimes with other SUS, that sometimes even universities in other states. And we collect vast amount of data, and we store it in our facilities. Many of them have a proprietary data format. I mean, that is the only software and that the only machine can read and understand, right? The problem is, who owns the data, right? We have the data, but the PI owns the data. We want to be open, then we don't have a control over it except that we are housing the data, right? But we want to be open, we want to be fair, but that is the problem we are facing. That's where librarians and data scientists, other people, we want your help. How do you solve this problem, right? You talk to PIs, but we are missing in this equation because we are the people actually holding the PI's data, but you tell all the PI, make a data management plan or whatever it is. They tell, okay, you go and talk to Soma, he knows how to get the data for me. But I'm not aware of it, that's why we are here. I want you to be aware. There are 30 or 35 people like us in the main campus, forget about Mang Lab. We hold the data for lots of PIs, and you want to reach out to us so that we know how to deal with all this open science fair concept. We are not aware of that, right? And then, of course, we know in 2023, the NIH is coming with a mandate. Data management has to be planned, it has to be shared. We are not aware of it. Therefore, that's why I'm here to let us know that please inform us. Of course, this, as I said, the open science fair and then concept, right? Findable, accessible. Already we heard from the people from COS how it does work. And also, fair doesn't, everybody knows fair doesn't mean open, right? The biggest problem we are finding is, as David and others have pointed out before, the PIs who are collecting the data, if they are not properly indexed and tagged, they are not finding their own data. A student would come and tell me, hey, find me the data we collected in last year, February. I don't even know the name of the data set. Tell me where it is. Because the student is doing so many other work, Then we had to go look, there's no easy way to index them. I'll show you some of the problems. This is some of the problems we are facing, and I just want that to be known to the others. Okay, what are the challenges? This is what I'm going to concentrate on mostly. We are basically asking for your help. And give you an example. As I said, I started this X-ray crystallography facility in 1993 October. At the time, the facility I'm working now was the only X-ray crystallography facility in the whole of southeastern United States. At the time, a student who was doing his PhD thesis used to collect one data, and he could publish his or her PhD thesis. It involved 24 data sets. The data collection lasted days, and it was collected locally, and he solved this. I still remember the shape of the crystal. You can see in the background, on top of which the X-ray diffraction pattern I'm showing you. The dots are the X-ray data, and the kind of a rectangular thing is the crystal. The kit grew in 1996, and I remember that because it was a unique thing. The student published the PhD thesis on us, right? And then this is some of the metadata went into that time, right? Where he grew the crystal, how he collected, everything. Fast forward to 2023, a PhD student collects multiple structures to finish their PhD thesis. And the data, and then the data is collected in 3 hours, and it is collected in a national lab, like MagLab. We go to a X-ray lab in Brookhaven. We sit here and collect remotely. And one data set is about 7 gigabytes. And it is collected in minutes. Basically, what used to take about a week to collect is now collected in a minute. You'll see why this is becoming a problem for us in a second. This is one student's 1 day's part of the data set. Every line here is one sample. The student doesn't even know what sample it is he's going to collect, and we do not even know which is going to be a publishable data. But we have to tag everything, have to have a metadata for everything, somehow store, somehow index, somehow make it open to people. That is the problem, right? I do not know out of the 36 or 37 samples he gave to me, which will diffract, which will be useful. There was somehow a human has to come and tell, this is what you want to preserve, this is what you want to index. That's the problem you're facing, right? On top of it, the student would come almost the last step to me. Everywhere, there's a lot of information is lost. The metadata is not logged because they are in notebooks. They are in pieces of sheets of paper. They are in graphs. We do not know. We want to be open, we want to be fair, but there are a lot of obstacles to getting there, right? I don't have a way to ask any of them. I can't tear his notebook sheet and then add it as a digital page, right? That's a problem. Core facility, like people we are facing. And most of it, I said, it is all in a non-digital format. And this is the explosion you see in research being done, right? You can see with somebody was talking about the AlphaFold. I think Sunny was talking about the number of protein structures being published is really taking off. How do we deal with this kind of a data? How do we keep it open? How do we keep it fair, right? That is the problem. And this is the reason for that. When I started using in 2000, the X-rays, amount of X-rays available, between that time to 2020, it has increased almost 10,000-fold, right? The light has become so bright. What used to take 1 week to collect data, 2-3 data sets, now in 1 day, 1 hour we collect. It's a very high throughput, very high efficiency. We have so much data, we don't know how to deal with that, right? That is the biggest part. We have become very efficient. Like she was saying that we have become so busy, so lot of information is there. How do you deal with that? That part we don't know yet. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm fine. Yeah. And this is the problem. We have the microscope. I said Titan microscope. In one day, we are collecting 1 terabyte of data. There's no place to store them. You can even have a duplicate, right? There's no space to collect, no place to stay. And the duplication is near impossible because the array doesn't work. The random array of independent doesn't work because there's nothing there to store. Imagine 1 week they have the way in which they deal with this, they have the, as I said, it's the last mile problem we are going to face. This is how they deal with. They send it to the archival system where they have 100 terabyte of data storage and 100 terabyte of archival space. Therefore, they can only collect for 2 or 3 weeks. This is one of the examples I'm giving. It's not exactly my example. One week they collect the data, and then somehow they have to store in a hard disk somewhere. That cannot be openly accessible to people because there's no way to keep that amount of data freely available to people, right? This is the problem we need to solve. I'm not saying I have a solution or I'm not asking you a solution. We have to be aware of this problem, right? And this is somewhat similar to that. In my area, there's a place where you can store this data and then access them. For example, what we have been doing this, for the concept of faith, what core facility all we have decided to do is developed a scientific equipment database, which is a website built by the help of a provost, and then we have it at FSU. The advantage is this is the one place where you can, in the part of the fair part of the findable part, you can go and type anything you want, whether you want to find it by you're looking for an instrument like a microscope or a spectrometer, anything like that, you can fill that in, it'll find the answers for you. It's a live website. And then if you are looking for a facility in biology or you're looking for an X-ray facility, you can find this. This is what we are trying to solve some of the problems. And for example, you can look for anything you want. It took about 6 to 7 years for us to fill this. This is what the state of Florida gave the Davis Productivity Award, because we were able to build this with the help of funding from the Provost Office, collaboration between FSU ITS facility and people like David and everybody gave information, and we built this. This is one way we are trying to address the problem. At least you can locate where the equipment are. For example, you can see how the various parts of it will get filled. Let's say you want to tell all the scientific equipment in biology, you just click the biology department and it fills for you. Or you're looking for a particular facility, what equipment instruments have, you would take the middle column and click the answer. Or if you're looking for something, a particular equipment, we can do that. This is what the facilities have been trying to do. And this is available in the my.fsu.edu, either for a student or for a faculty. And it gives all the information about, this is where the accessibility part comes. Right? You're able to find it, and it tells you what instrument it is, where it is located, how to contact, who to contact, and how it looks like. It took about 7 years for us to put together. We have about 565 equipment available. It is open to anybody, and it is being maintained by the facilities website. And we are trying to, Provost and the President, when John Trasher was there, wanting this to be propagated to all 12 SUS because they all have this, and we wanted, this is the steps we are taking to solve some of the problems. Still, a lot of people do not know it exists, even though it's a one-shop search for 540 equipment. The total cost of it is like $300 million or something like that. And as I said, this is what we are trying to build. And then this is the other example I want to give. I think I and Devin were talking about, even though ORCID is popular, nobody is used, 40% of the people use it, looks like. You can build, how do you reach to the end users, right? Even though we know it is built into fees, right? You can see, I don't know, maybe it's you can see the import. A lot of people are not using it, right? You guys, data science and librarians are doing great job of building, great job of having the schemes. How do you get the last mile, right? None of us know this. I'm involved in this project because I heard of this project, but this information is coming. Somehow we have to reach more people. And this is the next barrage is coming. This is called RRIDs, Research Resource Identifiers. I and David and we're in a meeting where they are trying not only to do DOI, they are trying to identify individual equipments, individual facilities. That is coming to us. None of us are ready. And then this is the lady, Dr. Anita Bandrowski is involved in this RRID. This is courtesy, both the slides are courtesy of her. My facility has a RRID. Therefore, if you type those 5 digits, it identifies where I am. It makes my life easier. If somebody is writing a journal or an article, if they put the RRID, instead of writing my facility, do they say FSU, IMB, X-ray crystallography facility, X-ray crystallography facility? All those goes away if you use the RRID, right? That's what we are trying to promote. But there are only few of them in FSU. People recognize this problem, and we have to somehow reach to them. I'm talking to René so that he's going to come and talk to us about this. Many of you librarians know what this is. And therefore, what is the suggestion we have? Most of the facilities should adopt this kind of open science RRIDs, keep open to people, and we should broadcast. And institutions like libraries and institutions should promote this so that more people are aware of it and recognize. And organizations like, I'm involved in the ABRF, they should educate how this could be useful for people and incentivize. And I and Devin were talking about, everybody knows if you update an ORCID, it helps your annual evaluation, but people are still not doing it, right? Ask them. While I was building the website I was showing to you, somebody say, I wanted information from your facility so that no more people use it. He said, I don't want to put my instrument in the facility, in the database. I asked him why. We don't have human resources. I already know who my users are. If more users come, I don't have a bandwidth to help all of them, right? There was some time being open means you're going to be overwhelmed by the amount of requests you're going to get. Not everybody's prepared for that because we do not have sufficient human resources from our side. The other problem I have is, in my core facility terms, there are users and there are users, right? The people I know will take less of my resource and get the same amount of return on my investment, right? The regular users. And there are users, I mean, as a librarian or many of you know, there are people who come, you spend 5 hours explaining to them, they are still not in the first floor, right? You spend a lot of time, and therefore, many of them do not want to be open about it, not because they don't want everybody to find out, but there are some people, there are power users, and there are other users, right? That is this is what we're finding out. These are the obstacles somehow we have to overcome. As I said, this is regarding RRID. I just stole the slide from my other presentation. We had to convince the people, and first people like me, I had to get convinced this is good for me, for everybody, and then if the users take it, and then maybe people like you guys can help, we can expand the usage and keep it more open. And that's my summary of my presentation. I hope I have shared some of the difficulties and the problems we face in our space, and hopefully we'll find some solution together. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much. This presentation was wonderful. I think we can just discuss all the things that you touched for days in here, and we might not be able to find solutions. So one thing I want to say is I'm an educational researcher, and in our team, when we started to implement open science practices, I can give you this example of we were publishing our lab reports, our psychometric reports, in a month. In a month, I was able to produce every month another report. Our first publication took more than a year when we decided to, okay, you know what, we will do this in this way. And recently, I've been more involved with Open Science Framework, and most of the engineers or medical researchers are reaching out to us and saying we don't have enough space to store our data. So we don't know how we are going to share. So I can tell this is a very common problem. And through your presentation, actually, for the first time, I was able to observe how serious it is. Because, users are reaching out to us and we are reading their email and I'm like, well, this person has 50 gigabytes of space already and it's not enough. It's very surprising to me because I never came across this issue. And one thing I can tell what they are working on, a couple of other repositories that I know as well, is that they are utilizing Drive accounts or Box accounts or GitHub so that you can have actually more space through these platforms. Because most of the agencies I know, including my team, we are already paying to restore our data from some of these different websites. So there are some ways to integrate those different websites to gain more space. Although you have tremendous amount of data, this is one thing I can see. However, I also understand, for example, you showed us the data that your students are sharing. Not copy and paste will work because I will not be able to understand what variables that student has and public will not be able to understand. One thing I get to learn through my open science journey last 2 years, I think the beauty of this journey is to accept challenges and just keep working more and more. And I feel I will, or any of the research teams will be able to say we did this because it's an ongoing process and it will be.
Yeah, I agree with you. Just remember the old maxim, if something could be done, you do it good in the first place. That may be the important thing. Like you said, it's very difficult to even index and tell what is important. Yeah. Repeatedly, what we want to emphasize, if you're doing something, do rigorously and reproducibly, because otherwise, in the vast amount of data, it's impossible even for the student to find where the data is. Therefore, you want to do well. And with this, think about how many people have gone back to their own research and looked at the data. Sure. Because we are in a, like she was saying, we are in a fast-paced world. We need to keep running to stay in the same place. The science is becoming so progressive. There is a push for efficiency, but for not effectiveness. Right? We are pushing, okay, we collect more data, more information, more and more and more. Because anything which was done 1 week can be done in 1 day. We want to do it. The problem is, in 1 day means there are 7 days of what data you have to deal with now, or there are 7 days of things you have to understand. After some time, you just, okay, forget it. It's above my head and just leave. That's a problem. Right? In terms of the, efficiency, we are leaving the effectiveness. That's the unfortunate thing. We have to be cognizant of the fact, like you're multitasking and talking to people and running into people, right? That is the problem. How do we deal with that? We have to recognize, like you said, take your time off, ground yourself, and try to do one good science. Maybe you publish one paper, but it's very good, and not publish 10 papers which nobody cares about it. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not a PI. I don't have to write grants if I'm saying that, but maybe a PI would have other problems.
Yeah, I think you have a great point. I just want to add this really quick because, when we talk about share your data, it's like amazing, right? Like other researchers will be able to reproduce whatever you have. But also, that's a very amazing point you have. Like there is also not value if there is a data that I cannot understand how I'm going to use, or like this big amount of files, or so we should be really careful about what we are putting out world, because if other researchers will not be able to make meaningful connections.
You cannot make meaning, what how others are going to make meaningful, right?
Yes.
And then I think in the other meeting where David were there, the people are saying, make almost all data fair, compliant at least, if not open, because majority of the time, the people who are actually looking for the data, somebody presented in the meeting, 90% of the time, the person who generated data is what is looking for. We forget about the open. The open is more using for the person, for me, right? If I'm organized, if I kept it properly, it will be useful for me first, let alone for Devin or Camille or something like that. Yeah.
Any other questions? No? Are we ready for closing remarks? Thank you so much, Dr. Sommer. Thank you.